Hi, and welcome to User Groups Live. I'm Alicia. I'm a researcher based here in the York office, and I've been with Anaplan for about 2.5 years now.
Hi everyone, I'm Pam. I'm also a researcher, and I'm based in our London office, and I've been with Anaplan for almost 4 years.
Hi everyone, my name's Greg. I'm a designer. I've been at Anaplan for just over 5 years, and I'm based in the York office as well. So we're here today to talk about the UX team, and to give you some tips on how to provide UX practices to your end users in order to provide better experiences. So you're probably thinking, or at least some of you are probably thinking, what is UX? To me, UX, or user experience, is every interaction that a user experiences when they use a product. Designers are often thought as those who just design what the interface looks like, but the practice of user experience is really getting to understand user needs and the problems that they face in order to provide a better experience and to design that solution. UX is understanding, as I mentioned, user needs and designing solutions to meet them. But we really believe that UX can add a lot of value because ultimately it creates emotions such as happiness and frustration and everything in between. Take, for example, a mountain bike. Is when someone wants to go out and buy a mountain bike, is it for the tyres or the spokes or the saddle, or is it those Shimano gears? Or are they really looking for this? A mountain bike is just a set of tools and features, and it's our job as designers to take those tools and features and turn them into an intuitive and exhilarating experience.
It's about making things easy as well. So, for example, I have a story that I love to tell about a clothes dryer. So when I moved house, I bought a new clothes dryer, and for the life of me, I could not figure out how to use it. And all I was trying to do was just make it a little bit warmer. My clothes weren't getting dry. It was taking forever. And it got to the point where I had to actually get out the product manual on how to use my dryer. Mm-hmm. And that's not a great experience. It shouldn't be so complicated. Mm-hmm. I just want my clothes to be dry. So that's an example of how someone could have had a better, thought around me as the user or the customer to dry my clothes.
Absolutely. And it's not just the UX team that is part of this process. We work with users and other specialists such as engineers and product owners in order to choose the best set of features that is ultimately going to deliver that great set of features.
And on the UX team, we have different specializations. So we have researchers like Alicia and I. Our job is to really understand who our users are, what their needs are, what problems we can help them solve. We have UX designers like Greg, and they take that understanding of the problems and the needs and the users and start to figure out different possible solutions that we can then evaluate. We also have visual designers, and their job is to apply a visual aesthetic and give what we do personality. And as you can see on the slide, we're located in America and the UK. We have 4 offices. There's 18 of us right now. But we work really closely together despite our geographical disparity. And we work on both Anaplan, the platform, and also the larger ecosystem, so things like Anapedia and community as well. And you might wonder, what kind of background does a researcher have? What is a researcher? So Alicia and I are we both come from academia. So I have a cognitive psychology background.
And I have a social science academic background. So before working at Anaplan, I did a lot of work with government. I worked at universities as a quantitative and qualitative researcher. So, again, from university, you probably remember taking a research course and learning about the different types of methods. And those are all methods that we use here in the UX team as well, just to help us kind of get to what we're trying to build for our customers. And Greg, what about designers? I'm sure designers also have such a varied background.
Absolutely, yeah. The design team has a very diverse background. We have folks with a graphic design background, interaction design backgrounds, industrial design backgrounds, and designers that have come from kind of B2C and agency side, as well as from other enterprise side companies in the past.
Great, and that's how we work with you to build a great experience for you at Anaplan. So again, we are not in sales, we're not in supply chain, we work here at a tech company. And so it's really important for us to get out as a UX team, get to know our customers. What are the problems? What are the things that they're trying to do so that we can build better solutions for you? And this really allows us to get to what we were talking about earlier, that great experience. We don't want to create frustration. We want to make sure that we're delivering the right types of things for you. And so that's why it's so important for us to really keep the users and the customers and partners at the center of what we're doing.
Should we actually, before we go into talking about the new user experience, we could talk a bit about our day-to-day. Yeah. So we have 3 researchers on the team, and so Alicia and I are both more, our background is more in qualitative research, and then we have a researcher who's more focused on quant and analytics. So there are fewer of us than designers, but we basically try to figure out, what are the highest risk projects or the areas that need more exploration, and we focus more on those.
Yeah.
Working with design, product management, and engineering. And then we're starting to train the designers more in doing some of their own research for some of the easier stuff, the quicker feedback, quick testing. And so the day-to-day would be, we would usually pair up with a team. So right now, I have a project that I'm really focused on. You have a similar situation. But then we're pretty much involved in all the projects to some extent, but we tend to have one project that we're really focused on. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
I think just clarifying, from a research perspective, what we mean by risk is things that were less known to us. So again, it's making sure that we put that knowledge and understanding into what customers are trying to do. So that, from our perspective, is, if we don't know, then obviously we're making more of an assumption, and we don't want to do that. So it's about, as a research team, definitely collaborating across those projects to make sure that we're really understanding what customers are trying to do. For example, in mobile, what people are trying to do in mobile is very different than what they're trying to do, sat at a desk with a laptop or a computer. Obviously you're out and about, right? You're doing different things, so the needs are different at that stage. So yeah, absolutely.
What about designers?
Thank you for asking, Pam. So, as far as the designers concerned, we obviously have designers sat in the feature teams executing on their current projects. So, for example, we have a number of feature teams executing on new user experience features, and we have designers assigned to those teams. So their day-to-day is very much working mostly with the engineers and the product owners in those teams. So they have scrum ceremonies, like daily stand-ups, as well as sprint ceremonies such as planning and refinement and so on. So they're collaborating very, very closely with their feature teams. But there are also kind of designers that sit outside of feature teams as well that are thinking a bit further out, so more strategically. So what's the next great experience that we want to deliver kind of after the new UX, that sort of thing, the sort of thing you might see at CPX conferences. But all of the designers and researchers, obviously, it's just really important that we're collaborating on a fairly regular basis, because we don't want a designer in one feature team kind of designing in a silo and another designer in a feature team designing in a silo. We kind of need to bring that together at a high level. So we have like really regular kind of global UX meetings, 2 or 3 a week, as well as local UX meetings in each location, just to make sure that we're all aligned and we're designing patterns that we're all happy with and going to be used across the board.
Yeah, so we give in our team meetings, we give the designers feedback. So we all have, bringing our perspective on things that could be improved a little bit. And then we agree we're at a point where we want to take it out to our users and get feedback from them. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the difficult part about all this is that we're trying to do things really fast too, right? So we want to get things out to our customers. So it's that balance between trying to make sure that we're delivering, quickly, so customers are happy with the things that we're releasing, but also making sure that we get it right. So it's important and challenging.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about how UX is helping to transform Anaplan. So we've just launched our new user experience. Probably some of you have seen it already. And it's a new way for business users to view and consume data on a mobile device or on the web. So the way the project started, it was a couple of years ago now. We started with research. We went out and interviewed customers and did some observations to really understand, who uses Anaplan, what different roles do they have, what are they trying to do, what challenges are they facing, what are their needs. And the most important thing was we didn't want to just start designing and do that based on our own assumptions and designing for ourselves, basically. So we really wanted to get this foundation, this really good understanding of the real problems, because people like you are the experts. We want to learn from you and make sure that we have your needs guiding what we're doing. So we found that we have different types of users. So we have some business users who want really simple, easy to use experiences, kind of like what you're seeing here on the screen. And then we have some more advanced users who want really powerful features and flexibility. So we also found business users want great looking dashboards and reports with personalization and collaboration capabilities that they can use on any device. And builders want easier and better ways to create these great experiences for their users. So we took all this knowledge, all this research into a 12-week, really intense design ideation phase. We did a lot of sketching and prototyping. We came up with a lot of different ideas, threw some out, refined some, and then we got to the point where we had some concepts that we wanted to get feedback on from users. We did a lot of iterations. Sometimes we just didn't quite get it right. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, you're just really not sure, if what you're proposing is going to work or not. Should we talk a little bit more about that? So.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of funny when customers participate in sessions with us. Sometimes they're like, well, I'm not sure if I should say this. I don't want to hurt your feelings. And it's like, no, it's not about that at all. Obviously, when we're doing testing, when we're going through design testing or prototype testing, absolutely, it's about making sure that the thing is working in the ways that you need it to. And so, absolutely, we promise that you won't hurt our feelings. You might hurt Greg's feelings, but definitely not going to hurt my feelings. So yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting as well is the difference between an earlier stage testing, so prototype testing, versus once something moves into development. So in a beta stage, for example, something might work in a prototype, but then once people have their own data and use it with their own kind of information, then it's like, ooh, hang on a minute, this isn't exactly what I thought. So we have some times that we thought that we had figured something out, and then we would get additional feedback in beta, and then we're not quite sure again. So
so to kind of reiterate what Pam and Alicia have already said is we do as much as we can up front, like the ideation phase, to kind of reduce risk as much as possible, but it's basically we're never going to get everything 100% right, and so we've built a process during the execution phase when we're working with engineering product to make sure that we can react quickly to feedback and kind of build those requirements in as we move along. So we've obviously got the more strategic kind of roadmap items that we need to attack, but we're always listening to customer feedback to make sure that if there are any major issues that crop up or UI bugs, then we can kind of insert those into sprints and address them quickly.
Yeah, I think some of the teams that are going later today might be able to talk a little bit more about that process as well. So the engineering and the support and L3, or the support and QA teams, will be able to maybe give some insight into that as well. So yeah.
So this process of creating something, for us it might be sketches or prototypes, and then getting feedback, and then making sense of the feedback and figuring out what needs to be changed or updated or improved. It's probably very similar to what you were doing if you're creating a dashboard for your users. You want to understand what their needs are. You're going to build something out, get their feedback. Maybe you need to make some tweaks, hopefully small tweaks. So it's pretty similar, I think, to what you're used to today if you're a model builder. So back to the new UX process. So we got to the point, we did all this iteration, got to the point where we moved into development, and engineering was able to really get heavily involved and start building things. Now we're in GA, but during the beta phase and still today, we've made sure to listen to customers along the way and made changes accordingly. So you can see some crazy metrics here. So we've talked to so many users. We're really tired. We've done a lot, working really hard the last couple of years. But we've talked to many users from more than 200 customers. We have more than 2,000 feedback items. There's still coming in every day. We'll talk a bit later about how you can give us feedback. And we review all the feedback that's coming in and figure out what does it mean, what are the themes that we're seeing, and what improvements and enhancements can we continue to make. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the new UX and some constructive feedback, so we'll continue to keep making it better and hopefully something everyone loves to use. Yeah.
Cool. So alongside the new user experience, we've also been evolving our design language through what we're calling the Anaplan design system. And the Anaplan design system is a library that allows us to document our common interface patterns and components. When we did an audit of our current experiences, we found that we had a lot of inconsistency and duplicate patterns and components that were used to kind of solve the same problems, basically. So by allowing us to provide kind of a standardized set of UI patterns and components, designers and developers across teams and across locations can move a lot faster and reduce rework. And ultimately the benefit is to our customers, because through the Anaplan design system and these standardized components, they'll receive a lot more cohesive and seamless experience as they move through the Anaplan ecosystem.
And so how can you apply UX ways of working to your work as well? So our top tips are to just research early and often. So go out and talk to your users. Again, just like we're not the users, you're also, if you're building dashboards, you might not actually be the user for that board. So make sure that you talk to people. Don't wait until you've actually built it, but go ahead and talk to them before. And remember, you want to focus on problems and not solutions. So there might be a process that was put in place 5 years ago, but technology has changed, people have changed. So don't just replicate and recreate the same process now. You might need to make some changes when you do that. And also just ensure you're getting feedback at all stages. So you can do this in a number of ways. Maybe do a survey, or maybe observe your users while they're using the different boards that you're building or pages for them. There's a lot of different ways that you can gather feedback from your users. And you can also check out our design best practices. I believe there'll be some links posted for you later. So you can go to Anapedia and see some of the design best practices that we've put together to give you some tips on how to do things better in design. So.
And we thought it'd be great to actually talk through some of those best practices now at a high level, so that you can apply these to your apps in the new experience in order to produce better experiences for your users. So first up, I'd like to talk about one of our new page types that we're calling boards. We've designed these to be optimized to make it really easy for you to build great looking boards, dashboards and reports for your end users. They're great for showing high-level metrics through KPI cards and visualizations. And for that reason, we recommend not putting huge grids on pages like this, because they're not really optimized for that. However, you can link cards from boards through to other pages that we'll talk about in a second to provide more information. So that brings us to our second page type, the worksheet. And we've designed this to really make it easy for your users to analyze large data sets. And for that reason, this is where we do advise that you put large grids of data. The reason being is it's optimized through that single scroll experience, and we've introduced a Write Insights panel that allows the builder to place additional information that's relevant to the main grid that the user can choose to pull in as and when they need it. So I'm just going to talk quickly around some of our key design principles that we also recommend you think about when designing experience. So the first being prioritize by importance. It might sound obvious, but it's really key that when you're designing your experience, that the first page that the user lands on when they come into your app is really providing the most important information. Which I suppose does sound quite obvious, but also when you're thinking about a particular page as well, make sure you're putting the most important page at the top, for example, like in this screenshot, through KPI cards and visualizations. And that way it means that users can come into your app and get a really quick sense of the current status of what's going on without having to dig around looking for information.
It's like what we talked about earlier. There's different types of users in Anaplan, and so some might just want to come in quickly and find something and then move on to the rest of their work or another tool. So
Absolutely, and to build on that, this is one of my favorite design principles that we call progressive disclosure, and it kind of alludes to what we were just talking about. What this means is breaking content up into digestible chunks in order to not overwhelm the user with too much information on the screen at any one time. And we did find from research that actually with the current experience, sometimes screens were kind of overwhelming because our customers were putting a lot of content on the screen at one time. So this is really looking to solve that. And you can do that by providing kind of summarized cards that link through to more detail on a worksheet, for example. One of our other key design principles is consistency. We talk about that a lot. And that can mean in terms of naming conventions, layout, colors. And the example we've got on the screen right now, we've got a couple of visualizations that are actually showing the same two metrics, annual quota and year-to-date bookings. But they have different colors, and also the order of the legend items is different. So as a user coming in and viewing that information, that's confusing because it looks like I'm looking at two different data sets when actually it's just a different kind of way of visualizing the same data. So we recommend, therefore, using the same colors and the same order of the legend items. Just a kind of quick overview of some of our visualization best practices. So when it comes to column charts, they're great for showing kind of large variations in value across list and line items. For example, financial actuals versus forecast at a point in time or over time. Bar charts are obviously very similar to column charts, but are really good at showing a ranking. So you might want to show a ranking of revenue or forecast against a product or region. And a bar chart allows you to do that really well because you can vertically stack them. Line charts are best for time series relationships. The reason being, it's really easy to identify trends and patterns in a line chart, and it's also easy to spot very small variations. Pie charts are great, or they're good for showing kind of part to whole relationships, but because it's quite difficult to compare values in pie charts, we do recommend using them with caution. It might be that a column chart is better in many cases. And just finally, mobile. Obviously, we've just launched our new mobile experience. And when thinking about mobile, if you have users that are likely to be using mobile a lot, like sales reps or execs, for example, then you might want to think about optimizing your apps for mobile first. And we actually call this practice mobile first in the design arena. And what that means is leveraging a lot of the principles we've already talked about, such as prioritized by importance and progressive disclosure, because obviously on mobile you have a lot less real estate on the screen, and so you can't throw everything onto one screen and expect a user to be able to come onto mobile and easily use it. So definitely use cards that link off to other pages so that they can explore the content. Be cognizant of where you're placing headings over cards on boards, because obviously when cards collapse into a single column on mobile, you want to make sure the headings are kind of still related to the content underneath. And finally, we do recommend just using one application for both your web and your mobile experience in order to reduce kind of duplication of effort and reduce maintenance.
So we've talked a lot today about talking with our customers and user research, so we'd like to put this call out to you now. If you're not already a part of our user research program, we'd love to have you sign up. So as we said, we do a lot of interesting things and we get direct feedback from customers. So this might be a survey, it might be some design testing, we might come on site and do an interview with you. So in the chat area, at some point you'll be able to see a link to sign up to our user research program. Pam and I are pretty fun, so it's nice to chat with us sometimes. You might have, again, even met us at an event before, so whenever there's customer events, you'll usually find us out and about at events as well. So if you haven't signed up to our user research program, we'd love to have you do that as well. And also, we've made it easier in the new UX for you to provide feedback directly in the product. So as we were saying, we're constantly getting this feedback. So in the upper area of the new user experience, you can see there's a feedback button. That feedback comes directly to our team, and we'll be going through that and making sure that we're understanding how we can make the experience better for you. Same in mobile. I believe it's in the menu area. You can go in and see where you can provide feedback for the mobile experience. So we'd really like you to we welcome your feedback for that. So I think at this point we are ready to take some questions. So again, if you've got questions, we'd love to answer them for you. We'll go ahead and get started now on the questions that we have coming in from the chat.
Okay, we have a couple of good
I'm
questions
nervous to see
here.
them.
I'm looking at Alicia. So what was the most surprising thing you found in your research studies?
Oh, that's
That's a really good question.
yeah.
I don't know that it's surprising, but again, I think that it's interesting as a researcher because I think a lot of the times we forget that people are really at the center of all of these processes. So, again, we all work in a business, right? And so we're given tools and we're given things that we have to do. But a lot of times, really, when you just go out and talk to the customers, it's like, but this isn't how I want to do it. And I actually would really prefer this. So I think for me, it's always just understanding that actually the people who are doing these things have some really good ideas, and just the fact that maybe they've never even been asked about it before, it's really useful to get that. So it's just kind of always bringing it back to that, kind of human-centered approach, I think is always really interesting.
I think it's also doing research, it really is a reality check because we spend a lot of time internally working on designs and working through concepts, and we think, oh, of course, this is totally obvious.
Yeah.
And then you show it to someone and they're confused.
Yeah.
And it's just such a good reminder that, we can't design for ourselves. We really need to give to users.
And the other thing, although maybe not so much surprising, but I thought was really interesting, and we kind of touched on it earlier, was that through our research, we really did find there was such a diverse set of needs for our users. So Pam kind of talked about it, but we do have users that are just looking for something really simple, so they can come in, get their information or enter some data and get out. And then we do have those kind of users at the other end of the spectrum, really, the advanced users that are in Anaplan every day, wanting to kind of dig into all that data and do kind of rich analysis, and they're looking for kind of really powerful and flexible features. And that's a challenge for us to provide an experience that suits both. So that's something we're constantly trying to kind of get the balance right with.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions. So far we've seen examples of reports, but have you got examples of data entry screens?
So I don't mind taking that. So yeah, the screens that we had in the presentation they had some very nice examples of reports, so I'll admit that. But you can also use boards. Unfortunately, we don't have any in this presentation, but you can also use boards and publish editable fields or editable grids to boards. So it is possible to edit data on boards. Obviously, with the worksheet, you have a large grid experience that you can also make editable. So we recommend editing data via the grid on a worksheet. If you want to kind of edit drivers and assumptions, then that's where we think kind of editable fields are much better, which, as I mentioned, you can publish to boards, but on a worksheet, they're best kind of published to the right panel.
Okay, final question. What is the best way to provide feedback on the new experience?
I would say definitely so by using the button at the top as we suggested before, or signing up to our user research program. Either one of those ways is a really great way. Also by going to events. So if there are user groups in your area, that's always a really great way. You can also use community to ask questions from other users and provide feedback there. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to be able to interact, and there's just different ways that you can do it. So yeah.
And we also would love to get feedback directly from our end users. So we do talk to a lot of model builders. So if you have that link to sign up for the user research program, you can share it with your end users as well. because we would love to get even more people like that involved. But yeah, again, as we said earlier, all the feedback that comes in through the product and through the mobile app comes directly to the teams, and we review it. We're getting it basically real time.
Yeah.
So we really do read your every feedback item that comes in, and it really shapes what we're doing. So keep giving us feedback.
Yeah, there's a really good quote that we had from a customer as well who said that they felt like they were actually building the product with us because they had given us feedback, they saw us make changes and then deliver those changes. And it was just so incredible for them to see that actually, again, really working with our teams and helping to create a better experience for them. And that was really powerful for us as well, because that's what we were trying to achieve as well. So it's really makes us feel great as a team to know that, we're working in partnership with them. So yeah. Great.
And I think we're about out of time. We have a couple of questions we didn't get to, but we can answer them later through the forums. So check back later.
Yep.
Anything else we want to add?
No, I think it's been
I know there's a lot of great content today. So check back in a few minutes. Engineering is up next, and I'm sure they'll have exciting things to talk about. So thank you, everybody. And
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, great. Thanks.